and welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode 205.
Wow.
It is
Wow,
Brando.
dude.
How good's that? 205.
It's very strange, Mark Alexander Erber from Golden Robot and Gypsy Lee, who I will get to my I don't even want to call you guys like my interviews for today. We're just hanging out for this episode. That's kind of, and we're learning about new people, and obviously with our 6 degrees of GNR bacon, sprinkled on top of it, whatever. But last episode, I did a Zoom as well with Mike Squires and Jeff Rouse from Duff McKagan's Loaded.
Yeah.
And they've been on the show. And Mark, if you listen back to the episodes, my intro, my theme music is what Mike Squires made for the podcast.
Yeah.
So we've had some sort of relationship, but I haven't had them on since like the episodes in the 50s. And it's been now I'm like 205.
Wow.
It's
working, dude.
I guess, people are listening, and I'm getting to meet all kinds of cool people. So
but
I can't complain.
You know what?
What's that?
The issue is this: you've been doing all these podcasts, and yes, I've been on a couple, which has been great. I've been probably on 10 now. But you know what? It was my idea to tape the Zoom, record the Zoom tape. Gee, shows my age. It was my idea to record the Zoom, so I'm taking credit for that.
I mean, if people want to watch my face or my background, I don't know if you could see Mark. If you're listening on the podcast version, I encourage you to watch the Zoom, of course. But over my right shoulder, Gypsy, I don't know if you could see, it's me and Keith Sweat. And because I work on Keith Sweat's radio show, and that's like part of my actual radio job. And that's fun.
Oh.
But, and that's just one of, I'm not going to bore you with my resume. I want to learn more about your resume in a second. But that's what I got paid for. And then just to have this GNR thing, which started out as a passion project, to become kind of, some of my interviews get literally picked up by worldwide news and translated into different languages. It's just blown me away.
The Zoom's good because people can see what you look like and they can see us interacting. And I promise you, I've told you this before, there is someone out there that finds you handsome.
My girlfriend, at least.
Well, at least there's one. There you go.
At least.
And you found her. That's the most important thing. If there was one person out there and you found her, hey, beautiful.
I know. Absolutely. Just bananas. So today, obviously, Mark Alexander Erber comes from Australia. So Gypsy Lee, where are you coming in today? How are you joining us?
I'm in England, in Worcester, which is just outside Birmingham, the home of metal.
There you go.
Right on. How are you? I guess I have to ask that nowadays because it's like the elephant in everyone's room. Like, how are you? How are things over there with the pandemic, the apocalypse?
Oh man, they're still paranoid. We've got a shit government and like yours.
Who doesn't have a shit government?
Yours is doing all right. Dude, you and New Zealand are all right.
I like Jacinda Ardern, and I like the PM of New Zealand. I don't particularly like Scott Morrison of Australia, but I have to say he did a disastrous job with the bushfires earlier on in the year, and he's done an okay job with the COVID situation. Although most Australians are quite, are okay, that they got it and they self-isolated and they did. I mean, there's problems in Victoria at the moment, and they're a little bit arrogant down there, so they're all going out, and now there's problems. Exactly like in Florida and California, et cetera. But I got to say, you did everything you could in the UK, but the US, they're doing nothing like they should be doing. What a disaster. I mean, it's just not a joke.
Trouble is, ours are spiked again, though. Ours are spiked in quite a few cities. So it's going to be like a second wave, and I think it's going to hit here in about October.
We opened up again today. So New South Wales opened up. Basically, restrictions gone. But Victoria, they're closing the borders because it's had dramas. But will 2020 be remembered for just the worst year ever? What a nightmare.
Yeah. That's an understatement for sure. And that kind of leads us to our conversation because I mean, it's depressing. We don't know when this is going away. I mean, it will at some point.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to some sort of, it will be a new normal, to use an overused phrase.
Yeah.
But it's like in my world, people are asking because coming up, it's going to be July in just a few days, and I was looking forward to July 2020 because I had tickets to see Guns N' Roses and the Smashing Pumpkins, and I've never seen the Smashing Pumpkins. And
Really?
obviously, well, that's going to happen July. That would have happened July 14th or something.
Yeah.
At MetLife Stadium when the Jets and Giants play. So obviously, that's been postponed for a while, and people talk about rescheduling dates. I mean, who knows? So in my eyes, it's all about the music and how you interact with fans online. What can we get now? What can we do now? And it's what I like about Golden Robot, and obviously, you know what you're doing now with the Gypsy Pistoleros. I love it. I love the name. You're putting out new stuff for us to do, stuff for us to take our mind off everything. So, first things first, Gypsy, kind of tell us about. I didn't know I was going to talk to somebody last week named Gypsy. So tell us about your pistoleros, because before you say I will say this off the what I said to you off the air, I'll say it on because it's true. It was in your bio, and it came. And when I listened to the music, I knew I had the same feeling. What I would read in the future was if you watched the movie From Dusk Till Dawn, which is so awesome and it's right up my alley. You know, horror movie humor, and if you're a band to play in that movie, that's what the Gypsy Pistoleros sounds like. And that's like what clicked in my mind. So I'm reading what we call a one sheet when I learned about the interview. Then I was learning I was going to interview you. It said that in there. I was like, did they read my mind and write the bio? It's just just a very cool feel to the band. So that's my long-winded introduction to you. So
thank you. We've been we first came out in about 2005. And you'll hear about us. We went out with Adler's Appetite, was our first major tour in 2006. Right. And then we went on to do Rocklahoma, 5 years there. And that was our introduction to the States. And then we've been out with LA Guns, 4 versions of LA Guns. And all of the big bands we played with, Bang Tango, you know, like the whole of that. But the strange thing was, we were never really of that era. And when we got to Rocklahoma, people were going like, hey man, I loved your band in the 80s. And it was like, dude, I was in like a glam punk band supporting Lords of the New Church in the 80s. We were never part of like the Motley Crues, the LA Guns and whatever. But we fitted in with that because we sort of were lumped in with LA Guns and we supported them for quite a few years. Tracy's version, essentially. And but the music was, like you say, there's nothing out there like it. Because I lived in Spain for 3 years. In Zaragoza from 1991 to 1994. And we went out supporting the Ramones in 93 for the European tour, the Mondo Bizarro tour. And I just went like, we used to, it's really weird. If you live in Spain, all the kids have locals and they've all got bands. And they call these locals, they're little rehearsal units. And they all go there, get drunk, spend the night there and just make music. And we met one of the top bands we didn't know at the time in Spain called Katama, a flamenco band. And they were just playing like this stuff that was off the wall. And we were jamming like Anarchy in the UK with them. And so, mate, I so wish we'd have recorded those sessions because a flamenco band playing Anarchy in the UK is just off the wall. But I started to like say, like, dude, let's stick some like flamenco stuff into like the set. And we actually, so the first time we ever played this stuff was in Spain to the Spanish. So it's like taking Coles to Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? This is like, so we thought like, people said, you're just going to die. You're going to die, that you can't do this. But we did, and it went down great. And then later on, we brought it back. And I don't know, I love that sort of stuff. And it's worked. It's original. It's what every band wants to be. But you've got to have some real balls to sort of do it. You know what I mean? Everybody goes, yeah, we want to be different. But when you're different, no one can pigeonhole you. So they don't really know where to put you. So just thank God for Golden Robot that are sort of putting out loads of different stuff and actually run with this sort of stuff. Because we've had like some of the majors were interested in us and they're going, well, we don't know whether to sell you to the Latino market, the rock market, or where are you? So sometimes to be original is not good, But
that's got to be so frustrating, and I think it is, and that's why it's hard to be recognized, and that's when people have to search you out because coming from radio, it is what it is. A lot of these in all genres, everyone sounds the same, and that's why there was also a hint, and I didn't learn about them on the radio. I had to learn through friends. Was Go-Go Bordello, and I kind of got
great band.
Like that kind of feel, but you're more of a punk rock, harder feel, and I'm like, they're awesome. I wouldn't have known if it was up to the big labels. I mean, now they're, I guess, because they built up a following, but still, it's great. It's another. It also reminded me of like Antonio Banderas. Like he would play you in a movie or something like that.
Oh,
belong in Desperado, and I love those bands. That music.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is on the new album, because the stuff being released now is the greatest hits remixed and remastered, but we're doing a brand new album now, and an exclusive. You don't know this, Mark. We do El Mariachi, the first ever English version with English lyrics and the whole thing. So from the Antonio Banderas when he pretends to play guitar to the Los Lobos. It's
right.
Yeah, well, we do and it's a real rocked up version. So that's going to be out. We hope it's going to be ready for Christmas release. It's up to Mark, whatever. But that's the brand new album. But that's what we're really excited about.
Could be a single, but I reckon the album will come out early next year. Fine. Yeah. I don't want you up against. I don't want you up against Tom Jones's greatest hits. We don't need that.
How long were you working on it? Like, this is again
during
an obvious
lockdown
question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's like I got in touch with Mark about 6 months ago? No, about 4 months ago.
Yeah, 4 to 6 months.
I mean, it's happened.
He sent
really
me one of those letters, like you saw in the movies that were cut out, like it had the pieces of magazine in there,
like the Riddler or something.
If you don't release my music, you're in big trouble. And so I thought, well, I better do this because I don't know who this weirdo is. So no worries, done. No, that was it. He scared me. He scared me into it.
No, it's strange because I sort of gave up, not gave up on it, but I've been into acting as well. So I've got a few like horror films that I've been in and
nice.
And I went back to university and did a degree, and so I got a master's degree. And and I was playing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where I do like an autobiographical show, and it's got all the music and the videos from stuff. And people kept coming up and going like, "Fake, that band was brilliant. Who were they?" And I'm going like, "Oh, that's my old band." And so I thought, like, yeah, we were. I didn't want it written on my tombstone. You know what I mean? Should have been a shit hot, like, really known band. And it was always like there was unfinished business. So we we're back, and we're making new music, and we got a shit hot band together. But that's further anon.
Well, I'm glad to.
Can I tell you something, Brando? I've worked out what's going to be on my tombstone.
Okay. What this time?
It's going to say, "I told you I wasn't feeling well."
You said that. You used that joke. Oh, it's on record.
Do I? It's like a dad joke. You just keep repeating them.
No, Spike Milligan used it.
Yeah, but he's not around anymore, so it's mine.
It was new to Gypsy. Nice.
Gypsy knows Spike Milligan. Don't worry about that.
Okay. Well, I know I repeat myself as well, so I'm just busting your chops. I just thought you had a new answer. I was excited. I think I just let myself down.
I feel like I've let you down now.
I thought this was going to be a thing of yours, that you were going to have like a new motto or what was going to be in your tombstone every episode, and then I just.
All right. You know what? You know what? I'll think of a new one.
Okay.
I'll think of a new one.
All right.
Well, maybe it could be
silver lining.
Rock lives on. And then in brackets, not really. No.
Take some time. Sleep on it.
Okay, I'll come back to you.
Things can only get better.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Well, that's a good attitude. And I'm glad things have gotten better and they're in a good place for you now. I mean, I'm sure, like for everybody, this quarantine sucks. You would be, I don't know if on the road or the release process would have been sped up. But obviously, I want to talk to you a little bit about where you've been, And
Yeah.
you mentioned Adler's Appetite before, so I would love
Yes.
to know how you met Steven and how you got on that tour, and maybe any fun memories from
Yeah,
from
yeah.
touring with Steven.
Well, my first ever run-in, like with anyone from Guns N' Roses, was in late July '91. I was going out with Jane Dickinson, Bruce Dickinson's ex-wife. They were just getting divorced, and we were like hanging around in the
You were
Rainbow.
going out with her. She was your girlfriend.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of two. That's another story. But anyway,
Jane Dickinson.
yeah, she used to be like
pins.
she used to be a real puppet mistress. She sort of got Phil Lewis into LA Guns. She got Bruce from Samson into Iron Maiden, and she was like she worked for Sanctuary basically, and she was big friends with Sharon Osbourne. There's family connections in there, and
photos here. I'm looking at photos.
Get records. And well, you know, the Ballad of Jane's supposed to be about her.
What, the
LA Guns
song? Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And she also shagged Nikki Sixx, which is possibly the reason why Bruce divorced her eventually.
Nice.
Anyway.
So after all this, and then she ended up going out with you. So you look like the hero out of all that.
I know. Anyway.
So who's the real success?
Exactly. But we're in LA. She's going to buy a place, and we're staying with Chris Squire, the bass player from Yes, one of her best mates. And so we go down the Rainbow, and I'm there with Mario, who I don't know. I'm new to LA. So we're in the Rainbow, and I've been drinking mudslides all night, well, all afternoon. So I'm really fucked. And you know the Rainbow better than us, Brando.
I've never been. I mean, I've read about
really?
it. I don't want to be a poser. I've never been. So it's on my bucket list. Once quarantine ends.
in those days, you had tables for all the big bands, and whoever was like from the UK, whether it was Def Leppard, Iron Maiden, you know, whoever that was big, UFO, were like on that table. So we were sat on the Iron Maiden table, the English one, and Guns N' Roses come in, and it's just before Use Your Illusion's released, and Jane thinks she'll introduce me to Slash because he's from Stoke-on-Trent, which is near to Birmingham.
Okay.
Pretty near. Anyway, he's pretty wrecked, and I'm really wrecked. And he sort of shakes my hand, sort of. So I went, It's all right, mate. If you don't want to shake my hand, don't worry. And he turned around, he went, who the fuck are you? And I went, who the fuck are you, Cher? So a scuffle starts.
Really?
We end up rolling over a table, and we're on the floor.
Love it.
And I did grab his hair, I must admit. And suddenly we hear a voice, and it is, "Oi, behave!" So the godfather of rock, Lemmy, has spoken.
I knew as soon as you said it.
He made us shake hands like little kids.
I love it. That's awesome.
That was my introduction. And then a couple of days later, we get invited to the Use Your Illusion listening party.
Oh, wow.
So this is not going to go well. I'm thinking, shit, Slash is going to be there, whatever. Anyway, I walk in, and we're there 10 minutes, and there's all paparazzi around, whatever. It's somewhere in Beverly Hills, up from Chris's place. And I get the security guards walk up to me, and I think, I've only been here like 10 minutes, dudes. I haven't even done anything yet. But they say, no, can you come upstairs with us? It's just a request. And I thought, yeah, I've heard this before. Like, shit, these people have got guns. But anyway, we go upstairs, and there's Axl in this little room, and he's looking at a monitor, and everybody that's listening to the album, he's checking out the reactions. And so I walk in, and I'm like, all right, how you doing? And he's like, yeah, right, I'm Axl. I'm like, hello, I'm Lee. I'm from, I've come over. I was auditioning for a Led Zeppelin band, but that's another story. And he said, will you listen to the album for me? And I went, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And we listened to about 12 tracks. And he said, whatever you want, we'll get. And he was cool. He was really nice guy. And he said, what do you think of it? When he played about 12 tracks we'd gone through. and basically I tell him that I think they've got one brilliant album there, which he went off on like a bit of a freak out, going, "Fucking hell, I knew it," to himself, and which I can get it, but I mean, like, I don't know. You're following the classic album, aren't you, in Destruction? And to me, it just sounded like two separate albums. And I wanted to hear the Appetite for Destruction, which is basically the Izzy Stradlin stuff, isn't it? On there. I liked Bad Obsession. I liked Dust and Bones. I liked Civil War. I didn't get till later, I suppose, like a lot of the massive orchestral pieces, you know, trying to be Queen. That's cool, but I don't think a lot of people were ready for that. And it had been so long, the wait. You could have done it, released it separate albums. But anyway, I think the reason that he got me there was because he wanted an honest opinion. And you know what it's like in a bubble of, like, when you're a big celebrity and you've got a lot of yes people around, you just want someone to tell you the brutal truth, in a way. So, hey, that was my brutal truth. I left abruptly after that. That was the last time I saw him. But no, so yeah, I don't think you should bullshit people. Life's too short. I mean, don't tell people what they want to hear, because you get found out anyway. And I think people respect it, even if they don't like it. At least it's real, you know.
No, right on. And just for you to say that and to feel that, of course, that's just been a fun debate within the community for so long. I mean, this is stuff that's still we're talking about daily. I've been doing kind of like fun comparisons lately on my social media of it's weird how certain tracks from 1 and 2 are like parallel to each other. How, you know, track 2 on both albums are both an Izzy driven song. Like, it's just a weird. So it's just like, it's still debate. People still say, you know, one album. And for me, like, we don't have a lot of music. The more music that's out there, I'm just grateful for. So it's not that I'm okay with it.
Yeah, but that's what went down, and that's all that.
That's both are great stories. I mean, those are phenomenal. But you to be in these positions, yeah.
But the weird thing was, once we were like in 2005, the Gypsy Pistoleros formed. Once I'd come back from after the Ramones tour, we came back, and we were in a band called White Trash. Long story. We were signed to Noise Records, who had Halloween. I don't know whether you heard of them. And,
Halloween, of course, they're awesome.
Yeah,
Beavis and Butthead introduced me to Halloween.
Really, but we had a £120,000 deal that went down the tube due to the fact that Claudia, who ran the company, all the contracts were sent off. They were due to be sent back, and her husband decided to divorce her and took the company over and signed and dropped 15 bands, including us, and signed Manhole from LA.
Okay.
Who did nothing.
Like, hence my face of okay.
And it was like, okay, yeah. So that was the end of that one. But yeah, 2005 we got together and we decided to do this weird shit called flamenco, rumba, rock and roll, whatever it is. And
I love it. It's great.
And we went out with, I don't even know how we got on to, like, oh yes, I do. In Spain, we used to know a promoter called Robert Mills, and while we were over there, we supported UFO, Nazareth, Black Sabbath, Dio, Motorhead, Alvin Lee, The Cramps, Sepultura, and a few others on tour during 92 to 94. 94 we were sort of over there for, and so I knew him. So when I got this new band together, I said, like, anyone you got that we can support, Robert? We're back in the UK at this point. And he went, I've got Adler's Appetite, Steve Adler, his new band. And I went, cool, we'll do it. And it was, wow. They were big. I mean, they were getting like 3,000 per show. And for the first couple of shows, it was brilliant. I mean, they had on guitar, they had Michael Thomas, JT Longoria, from the Juju Hands. He was a lovely guy. We loved him. They had Chips Enough on bass.
Sure.
And a guy called Sheldon Tarsha singing. who became Chris Nichols, who sang for Quiet Riot for a couple of whatever. Anyway, and it was a really tight band. They were shit hot. And for about 4 shows, it was brilliant. They were going down great. I mean, it was sounding amazing. And then it sort of started to fall a bit apart. JP, the tour manager, was trying to look after old Stevie. Man, he said in 5 nights, he'd lost 7 hotel cards, keys, whatever. And we just find him wandering about in his pajamas, running out into the night. And we found him in a bar down the road the one night, and he just had a massive wad of dollar bills. I mean, you're talking freaking thousands of dollars. And we went like, and he's like, oh yeah. And we went, dude, don't put that away. And he became a bit uncontrollable during that time. It was, and after about, I think 6 gigs in, we were due in Belgium and Germany, and it just fell apart. The rest of the band walked out. I think he ended up playing with an Italian Guns N' Roses
cover band.
Tribute band.
Yeah.
And it was just awful. They asked us, oh, do you want to support Adler? Do you want to like play? Do you want to be like, and we're like, no, what the fuck? So it all fell apart. But it was a shame. He was a lovely guy, Stevie. It was just like, because you know better than I do. What was he, 17 when Guns N' Roses became massive?
I think he was older than that, but it's, I mean, like
18, when they first began, when
sure.
They, you know.
So, sure. Because he and Slash went to high school together.
So when you think about when you've lived in a bubble that long of being looked after, and once that's gone and you're out on the road on your own, as it were, it must have been a real culture shock. But he needed looking after big time, and there was no one really to look after him. It was, but it was cool. It was like he had this kit set up, and I remember him walking into the sound check. He went like, "No, we can't do this. The audience want to see me." So he just parted the toms so he could see through, and played beautifully. It didn't matter where his toms were. He just played fantastically anyway, and it was like, wow. But
he was
lovely guy.
Player. There was no doubt he was a good player.
Oh, he was. No, but even like completely, when we saw him in like some states, he was still spot on drumming wise, which surprised us. Do you know what I mean? From the stories. But no, he was great. I mean, I think the last time we saw him was in 2008 when we played Rocklahoma, and he was playing drums for the Bullet Boys or something, doing like a little spot. And he had two minders with him, and we walked in. We were like, "Yo, Stevie, how you doing?" And it was like he was just out of rehab, and so we were not allowed within 10 yards of him.
Oh, jeez.
And it was that's a shame. He's a lovely guy.
Well, I mean, flash forward. I mean,
fine now.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, we tell these stories, and it's hard to believe, and thankfully we can believe in 2020, the guy's doing well. His band was doing really well and well received. So, you know, he's posted during quarantine, you know, checking in on everybody. He seems to be in a really good place now, and I know he's had some spots, you know, in front of the Guns N' Roses Not in This Lifetime crowd, which is a thrill for him and fans alike. So it's we hear these stories, and hopefully now, I'm sure, I don't know the guy, but as an addict myself, I mean, 5 years, December will be 5 years without a drink. It's like,
well done, dude.
Well done.
You want,
well done, man.
You want, thanks. You kind of, these things are a part of your history, and at least like you can kind of show people who may be struggling. You know, I think those stories are an example of like how bad it was, and we can come out of it.
Yeah.
You know, we unfortunately have, you know, plenty of examples where it doesn't happen, doesn't have a happy ending. So more power to Steven Adler. I mean, now hopefully they're just silly rock stories, you know, about just silliness. And that's we can look at it just like that. If it But it has a happy
Oh,
ending,
it's just-
I guess.
And importantly, who won the fight between you and Slash?
Oh, mate, I had him by his hair.
Are you a
that's a low
dirty
blow.
fighter? You're a dirty fighter.
Did you bite
I
him?
fight dirty. But afterwards, the strange thing was like, because they're a big band at this point. I mean, like it's just before Use Your Illusion comes out, and afterwards, Lemmy said, he said, you do realize like the security guards, man, they've all got guns. Dude, we're in America now. They've got guns. Lead, and then it's because when we were in LA, we were also a mate of mine was Jimmy Bain, who was the bass player in Rainbow, and he was a fucking alcoholic and a nutter, and even he was going like, dude, there's guns here, guns, and we don't get it. We don't get it in the UK. It's like, you know, I mean, someone picks up a bottle and it's a shock.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you told about seeing Axel at that record release, but did you see Slash there? Was there another?
No, I didn't. I didn't. That would have been fun.
So I'm assuming you've just never seen, you haven't seen him since. Who knows if he
I've
even
never seen him
remembers
since.
that?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since. No. But Lemmy told me, because afterwards I was going like, wanker, what a wanker he was. And Lemmy's going, no, he's a really good kid. He's a really nice kid. You should meet him properly when you're both not drunken arseholes.
Nice. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, which is fair enough. Thank you, Uncle Lems. I shall, I said.
Totally. Did you have anything to do with him later on, or that was the only time?
Lemmy or
No, the Guns N' Roses.
no, after Adler's Appetite, I still keep in touch with JT. Steve, we saw Rocklahoma was the last time when we were kept 10 yards away from him by security, because he was just out of rehab, and we were just waving and going, all right, Steve. But he was clever though. He kept calling fans over, and when they were coming over, he was taking their pints from behind the back of the security. And it was like, oh, but hold on, I've lost you.
No, we got
but
I've snuck,
that was the last time.
drinks and stuff. Yeah, no judgments. I've done the same shit.
But we toured with Mike Thomas. He was playing with like, I think it was like Bang Tango. He's playing guitar for. It was like a Chuck Burnell Productions. So it's like a Motown tour. Everybody plays with everybody else, sort of thing. We went out on tour with Faster Pussycat, she's Bang Tango, Enough's Enough, and it was basically one band with the vocalist, and it was like, bless. But that was funny and different. But no, that was the last time.
We've got new music coming up this year, which in the next couple of months, which hopefully by the end of the year, and then new album from you next year. Is it going to be pretty much the same as always?
Well, you have stuff on Spotify too now. Like, it's not fully released.
Yeah. It's just the singles out. The remastered version of Una para Todo es Bandido is out now. The Crazy Loco Loquito is out next month, 26th, I think, of July. And then the greatest hits, he says, album, 18 tracks, is out August. I think it's available to pre-order August the 8th. And that's got Gypsies, Tramps and Thieves are on it. It's a classic. And Living La Vida Loca. Living La Vida Loca has to be.
Cher and Ricky Martin covers. I mean, it's
oh yes.
I should do a podcast about that alone. That's
But
that's great. Any plans to do kind of what we're doing, except performance wise?
We're supposed to. Well, I mean, there's been festival sort of invites, but the trouble is over here, they've got no idea when the festivals are going to be able to even go ahead. So even like the October, November festivals, they're saying, yeah, they are on, but a lot of bands aren't sure, and they're not sure how they're going to separate people or whatever. So I've got no idea. But next year we'll tour. It.
All right. Because I'm looking, it was today. I forget. It's happening next month, but Ringo Starr is having an 80th birthday bash with they're taping their own performances from their home. including Paul McCartney. So it's like it's so cool because you have all your eyes. Even yes, everyone's gonna be watching Ringo anyway, but when you're performing live, no one's going out. Everyone's home. So that's why it's we at least have music to listen to. Everyone's running out. We're running out of Netflix queue.
Yeah, well, it's great for us because of lockdown. Mark, the guitarist, has got his own studio, so I've just been shooting over there, and we've got the album sorted. The drummer has been sending back his stuff because he's got a little studio in London. The funny thing, drummer like Vinny, Jan Vincent Velasco, I put out on all the press releases that he was the drummer in Ghost, and no one should ever know who the drummer in Ghost is. My bad.
I like it.
Sorry, Ghost fans.
That's smart. That's smart. I like the cut of your jib. I like it. Sometimes I'll ask guests, especially with you when you have such a long resume, an impressive resume. Twisted as well, but just on paper, like the back of your baseball card. I'm a sports guy, so like the back of your trading card. So is there one particular highlight or something that I don't want to be as morbid as Mark and say put it on your tombstone, but is there one thing that if you were elected to the Gypsy Lee Hall of Fame, what would you want the jersey you go in? Well, what's the most proud thing you feel like you've done so far? It's a lot.
Other than join Golden Robot Records.
Yes. Well, that was the highlight. But I think it was when. I started when I was like 14. When we were like 16 years of age, we supported the Damned in a punk band.
Wow.
But the one thing that was a highlight was supporting the Ramones. That was freaking unreal. I'd never seen about like 4,000 or 5,000 people actually make a place move from jumping up and down. It was, and there were different things at Rocklahoma when you look to the side of you and you've got like, I love Vane, I love Davey Vane, and you've got Davey Vane watching you, and there's ZZ Top next to him, and then there's Tracy Guns over the other side, and you know what I mean. Steve Adler was there as well.
I don't.
You know what I mean? But those sort of things, it's like when you're trying to make it in a band and you're thinking like, shit, how are we going to do this? And it's a hard slog. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll, as somebody once said.
Sure.
Australian.
Yep.
But when that was like a moment when you go, oh, frick, we did something. You know what I mean?
You felt like vindicated, like the people you admire, the people that you admire you. Yeah.
Yeah, and you even think, well, just for this show, they're watching us, and that was a weird feeling,
And I will say, whenever anyone like those typical fun questions when people ask like what artist would you see alive or dead that you never did, the Ramones is always the top of my list. I being a Jew from New York, now living in Queens, I grew up on the music and listen. Exactly. I listened to them daily. So
they were
amazing. Amazing.
When we played with them in '93, Joey was in a really bad way, but it was so weird. He had sort of minders that made sure he got up the ramp to get onto the stage. But as soon as you heard that 1, 2, 3, 4, he was bang on, and it was boom. And as soon as the lights went down, he deactivated.
Wow.
It was weird, but it was for the time when they were playing, he was Joey Ramone.
Yeah.
Even though and he was ill. He was like polio, didn't he? He had like loads of other ailments towards the end, but he was still doing it even then, and it was like, wow. It was
so cool.
Punk rock hero
to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
It's been interesting because we just signed through Die Laughing Records.
Yes.
An EP, a lost EP, so to speak, of Johnny Thunders, and it's been New York Dolls, and it's been incredible to see the reaction when we announced we're going to be putting something out, Johnny Thunders. And how many people say, wow, without Johnny Thunders, there wouldn't have been a Guns N' Roses and there wouldn't have been an Aerosmith. And how it's really, really he and the Ramones, etc., New York Dolls, really shaped things to come. It was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, well,
how
it's
much
like,
a part they've got to play in it all.
Oh, well, you look at it, it's like all the bands in London that came out that were sort of the glam punky bands, Hanoi Rocks, you know, like all bands, Lords of New Church, all of that. They're all basically Thunders inspired.
Yeah.
I mean, and Malcolm McLaren went over, didn't he? And like sort of stole the New York Dolls idea and brought it back to London and formed the Pistols.
Have you seen that punk? I know it's here in Australia, and it must be out somewhere else, obviously in the world, but it's a Iggy Pop did a 4 episode series called Punk, and it really we were talking about it a couple of episodes ago because they interviewed Duff on it from the Farts, and Dave Dalton was talking about it from Die Laughing Records when we did something with Brando a few weeks back. I think that was our 200th episode, but that's really shows how, and you know, just going back to everything you've been saying and everyone you've played, I knew you had quite a rich history and who you've played with, but I didn't realize it was that full on. And the good thing about you is you could be completely bullshitting and there's just no way we could check any of these stuff anyway.
Oh, no, well, I mean, no, you can.
You too, Mark.
There's this thing called the internet.
It's always always true. No, it's awesome.
You get found out. I've not. That's what I've learned over the years.
Totally.
No, you're real.
We know you're the real deal. We know you're the real. Totally.
You're the most honest gypsy I've ever met. So.
Thank you, Brenda.
You got it.
You're the most honest Jew I've ever met.
You have my permission. Oh, that's great. Gypsy, this was awesome. And this was just a delight to speak with you. You're a funny guy. And obviously your history, and I can't wait to hear what's to come. You're obviously you're still active, still putting out new music. So, you know, when this pandemic does end, how much do you plan to tour? Do you plan on, you know, will I see you live ever? You know, will you cross the pond?
I hope so. I mean, already, like, since we've announced that we're back, Rocklahoma, AG have been in touch, but it's whether, I don't even know what's the money going to be for bands anymore, because Live Nation have already said that the bands are going to have to take the hit.
Yeah.
So,
it's hard to say.
You know, I don't know. I mean, we'll be out. Yeah, we will. But I mean, I think we'll do festivals, obviously. But I'd love to go back to the States. I'd love to play Australia, because that's one massive rock country that we've never got to.
It's actually just one big rock.
Yeah.
That's what we are. We're one big rock.
I have listeners everywhere, and you know, we're all connecting via the internet. So regardless, I'm excited to see what's to come from you and the Gypsy Pistoleros. So just thanks for your time, Gypsy, and Mark. Any parting words? Any updated slogans for your
no updated slogans, but I look forward to being on the next couple with you. And
okay, yes, you got, of course.
As your sidekick, your Jerry. What would you call me, Jerry Stiller? Last time.
You're the Jerry Stiller of Appetite for Distortion.
I'd rather you pick someone that's alive, but that's cool. I'll deal with it. But you know, as we always say in the business, Brando and Gypsy Lee, rock and roll is always the winner.
I like that.
Like
how about this? You probably know the UK version of The Office. Do you know the American Office? Okay.
That watered down weird thing.
Yeah, the UK version.
I got to know my audience.
No.
The Friends version of The Office.
Exactly.
Well, you're Todd Packer. You can put that or not. Anyway, so this was awesome. Yes, Mark, of course, we'll have you back, and Gypsy, you know, we'll have you back as well in the future. So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. When will you see the next one? Whether it be with Mark or not. It's kind of like the words of Axl Rose. I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.
Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
Thanks.